Hi all, welcome to Sportive Mechanics YouTube channel. Nicholas here. Today I am among the first in the world to be able to try this new Honda Hornet 1000. That's quite incredible, or the CB 1000 Hornet as it's more accurately called. We are a dozen French journalists who can access it on roads here in small mountains, as you can see, where we can test this motorcycle and form an opinion. It's a new motorcycle that appears, new frame, the engine. It's a reworked engine. As usual, I give you all the specs of this motorcycle. Then all types of roads. We will start with small city roads, then winding mountain roads. Enough to enjoy and a little bit of highway to really see at all speeds, as usual. And I'm not going to hide it. We did some very nice little roads that I'm not allowed to film because it was too nice. And I'll give you a little conclusion at the end. Little road, very, very nice. You'll see, watch this test. We start with the specs, go on little thing, we'll start with the price. If you're slightly curious, you'll look on the internet and follow some motor news, and that's it. It is available in two versions, already in a normal Hornet 1000 version, but also in this SP version. The SP version, that's the one I'm trying out today. The base one starts at 10,599 euros. The SP version, this one, is at 11,799 euros. If you don't take this one, I don't know why you take the other. Add a little bit of money and clearly go for this one. For several reasons. Because it's better equipped, it brakes better, better brake, better shock absorber, better finish. In short, clearly I would leave and I would rush on this one. I have not tried the other one. But the colleagues from other big motorcycle magazines or very important YouTube channels known in France said that the rear shock absorber already made the difference and the braking. It was incredible because we are on Emma style, but we come back to it later. We will start with the engine. Two differences, in fact, on the engine. We take the same engine block. The one that has been 1000 at Honda for a few years, which is part of the old CBRs, but which was reworked to make it a sporty roadster. So here we have a 1000 CM3 that develops two different powers. Either 150 horses on the normal version or 156 horses on this SP version. First reason to take this SP bike, it has 6 more horses. Second reason, it also makes 104 Nm on the normal version, 107 Nm on this one. A little more torque is always a plus, so that's interesting. Then there is a valve in the exhaust that allows to release a little bit precisely, which will give us this additional power at the same time with a slightly reworked injection. A kind of hammer that makes, well, precisely. We have these 6 additional horses, that's the first thing. Regarding the engine, the camshafts compared, this base engine was reviewed. We have what they call the timing, which has been reviewed. We have new pistons. This time they were cast pistons. We have a gearbox ratio that is also shorter because they put 1, 2, 3, 4 shorter to make sure it picks up better. And then I'm not the biggest of drivers, but when we do a pickup in third, it lifts quite easily high in the revs. And it's very nervous. In fact, putting 100% of gas. I hope you're well strapped in along with your heart as it functions quite effectively. So it's not the most radical of all the roadsters. What I appreciate is that the area down below will be pleasant, as demonstrated in this test. These were the initial observations. In both cases, we have traction control, an ABS, 4 levels of traction control, modes with different powers. We're used to that. We also find a new frame on this motorcycle. It's a steel frame, so yes, because we have a relatively contained price, so steel frame. To save money, we made minor adjustments like using a Holland shock absorber at the back. Well, that makes the difference. This frame, therefore, which separates into 2 parts for more rigidity. Then, when we start, we will go to the front of this motorcycle. The Showa fork offers adjustability in pre-stress compression, rebound, and relaxation. All the necessary adjustments on this fork, which allows for more adjustments. On the normal version, we won't have compression as an adjustment, right? Another advantage is this joy, with more adjustments on the SP version. Moving down, the car features 17-inch rims on both the front and rear wheels. In terms of tires, we are mounted, as usual, in 120 before 120. At the back, we have S22, so the Battle Axe S22 from Bridgestone. The tires are sporty and soft to the touch. They didn't cause any issues. We drove quite hard, and I think this is the first time in my life that I've driven so hard on mountain roads. I felt quite confident with these tires and had no particular problems. When we go down, we move to the front with 2 disc brakes, as usual, but this time on this SPC version of the Brembo style Emma. This is what is mounted on most of the highest end motorcycles, and it really pinches very, very hard. So we're not in full Brembo with the caliper, plus the master cylinder up top. Down there at the lever level, we're sure, I think it's a basic Nissin, it's not marked, but we're on a pretty basic lever. But it does the job well, because coupled with its calipers, it brakes incredibly well. 4 pistons radially, as usual. At the back, we have a single piston Nissin, and on the standard versions, we have 4 piston Nissin brakes. As my colleagues mentioned, you can feel a noticeable difference in braking time and pad performance, which I believe is also due to the caliper providing significantly more force in this case. 310 millimeters at the front, 240 at the back. We have a rear brake that I found frankly good. The motorcycle is well balanced with 51% of the weight at the front and 49% at the back. I find it good when I'm riding it, and I found that we still had good braking from the rear brake before it locked the wheel. What you often know, sometimes we would do a little bit strong, and it slides quite easily to a truck that arrives. Shit, you know, and shooting worries every time. I film you every time these things, it would be more fun. We were discussing the rear braking. I felt really good and balanced, and the motorcycle felt the same during turns. It was pressing well. In short, I felt totally confident. With a wheelbase on this motorcycle of 1,455 millimeters, which gives rather stability, even at high speed. We reached quite high speeds during this test, and at no point did I feel bad. The motorcycle, steered or not, is incredibly stable at high speeds. We will have multiple steps, including sports and style packs, such as a small deflector, as seen here. On the front, we can find some slightly lower clogs. Today, I have a style or sport pack. I don't remember with the grid here to prevent small stones from going on the radiator, so we can have the small clogs. I have an aluminum oil cap here, which is quite pretty. I have the seat in Alcantara. I spent the day on it, and honestly, at first, when I tried it out, I thought it wasn't comfortable, but in the end, I was quite comfortable on this seat. We have the passenger seat here, but we can have a shell if we want. I have the aluminum footrests here, otherwise we have the metal part, plus rubber on the bottom. The brake pedal here is pretty simple, and on the other side as well in this electronic stability program version. I have the shifter stroke, the pro up and down shifter, which allows you to shift up and down without having touched the clutch. No clutch, cruise control, etc. on this motorcycle. They didn't want to make it a really high-end part either. It could have maybe happened, I don't know if we plan to do it, but now we have a relatively contained price. I would have preferred more options such as a regulator. That could be nice. What do you think would you be for adding a little bit, for example, even having CarPlay like they do on the Africa Twin, the regulator, etc.? I know that I like the regulator, for example. It's a thing on the road. Sometimes when I have another age to do, it remains a plus. By the way, do you know why this motorcycle is called the Hornet? Be careful. When you see it, the shape here, it really looks like the shape of a Hornet, and especially the back has become very, very pointed. I'll show you again later, especially during the bike tour. From Nico's perspective, it's impressive, and from here we truly realize it. It will be available in 4 colors, gray, red, white, and in black. Like that, I find that the black with the golden fork, it goes well. However, on the standard version, the fork is grey, not golden. I didn't mention the weight. The standard version weighs 465 pounds. The SP version weighs 467 pounds. A little bit heavier, because the fork is slightly more equipped. The rear shock is also a bit different, and the valve at the back in the exhaust. Go a little bit to the front. So here, in reality, it's blinking because it's just the refresh rate of the camera. In reality, we have this always lit orange light at the front, similar to all modern Hondas, along with the indicators mounted here, the screen, and the thin film transistor. I'll discuss it with you later. This, however, is far more aggressive than before. We recall having some neo-retro styles on the CB1000 before with rounder designs that were quite stylish. Now, the goal was to make it quite aggressive, with highly refined aerodynamics. With the lights on high beam, both the low and high beams are illuminated, lighting up everything in the middle and the sides. I find it really stylish, and what's good is that it's symmetrical. The turn signals, if I put them on, hop, so there, we can see it there. This time, I don't know if you can see well, but it's flashing on this side. Then we have the tire hugger here, in quite simple black plastic, and the tires. As I mentioned, it's 120 at the front and 180 at the back. When I ride it, this is how it looks. Good, right? Do you think it looks like another brand? That there, this front here, this little thing, there's a hint of, I'll let you put it in the comments. We discussed the discs, wheels, and the Hornet SP, which is noted here. Otherwise, it's marked as a basic Hornet. So we have the little stripes. We can even have stripes also at the level of the rims with the Hornet of... Reminded, so this big engine block, 4 inline cylinders, 1000 cm 3Me, that's what I prefer as engine. Yet I've tried mono, I've tried twin cylinder, I've tried 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder. 6 cylinders, it's pretty cool too, but the 4, for me, it's the best there is. In terms of power ratio, driving pleasure, sound, that's top notch. So on this side, a small specific oil plug, the big cartridge that comes back there. We can also see an SC project as an option. The notepads at the back right here. So I think it's also steel on these parts, although it maybe looks a little bit like aluminum. I'm not sure, to confirm. The saddle height is 809 millimeters. So me, Nicholas, I measure 1 meter 80 and look, 1 meter 80. My feet touch the ground well, both heels, so it's quite hollowed out here at the saddle level, which allows me, I wedge. At this speed, it doesn't move anymore. Place well with legs closed. If I'm on the tip like this, be careful, as the foot can quickly touch the exhaust in this position. I wear a size 44, 45, but it's not a problem because in the end, it can rest me. In any case, it doesn't heat up. It's a heat protection. This is my position when I'm on a motorcycle. Legs tight together. The tank is quite large. We have a 17-liter tank. At the bottom, we could put 3.5 liters of oil. By the way, we have the oil filter right here, the horn there, and the oil compartment a little lower. When I close my legs, I would have maybe liked, so this part is worked on here. It's nice. Maybe a tad more hollowed out for better support and maybe a tad more protection when I'm riding at high speed. But I didn't feel any more problems than that. 17-liter tank, I told you about the consumption. I'll talk about it in the debrief later. The back is quite thin. When I'm a passenger here, hop, I come here. So passengers of 1 meter 80, it's still quite rare. Oh my sweet Jesus, wow. This rear part is very firm. I've already taken girlfriends on the back of motorcycles. They complained about things that I found rather comfortable. Here I feel it's still quite firm. It's very thin. Yeah, it's very thin, but there you go. I could hold myself like this without too many problems. Now, I'm quite tall. My legs are well folded, although it could even make me rest my elbows on my knees like this and stroll and cuddle like this. If I were driving Nico, I'd say go ahead, floor it. You'll feel the powerful acceleration. There, hop there. What else is there to tell on that side? That I told you about it. The Holland shock absorber here at the back, the TTX36, frankly very comfortable to use. So what I like about this motorcycle is that it's quite firm yet comfortable at the same time. It filters out the floors well. So we rode on pretty clean roads, but I find that even on the change of angle, etc., it dies as it should. The settings were well adjusted and I didn't change them. Adjusting it myself would require a professional, considering factors like weight. But if you buy a motorcycle with good shock absorbers, feel free to adjust them based on your usage. It can be very important and it will radically change the behavior of your motorcycle. The rear view showcases a sharp design with the license plate holder and a streamlined appearance from the 3/4 angle. With the light that resembles that of the CB500 adorning the device, we have the aerodynamic license plate holder. I don't know if it really affects the width, but I think surely the indicators... Here in LED, we have full LED lighting and the license plate holder with Spanish plates. Since we're riding in Spain for the very first time on Hornet, and while some are working, others are playing golf. Well, I suppose you want to hear this engine. It's always quite interesting. Don't move. I'm putting you in the back. I'll let you listen. It blows a little bit and to not hide anything from you. When we drive this motorcycle, We also hear a little bit of the intake at the airbox level, and we have a very nice little sound. Because the exhaust, often, it's more for the people around, except when we are in town, we hear it a little bit. When we ride hard, most of the time it's rare to hear our exhaust, but we have a pretty cool intake noise. We have valves that open between 5,000 and 6,000 revolutions, around 5,500 revolutions, releasing the exhaust a bit more. The same when we ride with the mapping, which also changes a little bit, and we feel that at 5,500. At that moment when it opens, there is a small release that happens. We feel that it flows the best, and that's why often by changing the exhaust line, it brings more horsepower at the top because it releases more. However, we lose some torque. It's always like that. The difference is either we have everything at the top or we have at the bottom, so we need to find the right balance between the two. And while I'm thinking about it, I didn't give you the travel. We have 118 mm at the front and 139 millimeters at the rear for suspension travel, 139 at the rear. If we are passengers, the vehicle needs to absorb more impact. 118 at the front is sufficient. Come on, I'll take you to discover this motorcycle in this dream setting. Here, it's a tour of Alicante. I like to give you a tour like this. Does it really give you an idea of the motorcycle? I really like the 3/4 front, the back too, quite nice. So it's true that it doesn't differ much from a 500, so we'll recognize it by the exhaust and the width of the tire, but it's pretty nice. And so I was telling you the Hornet up, if I put the camera straight, look there, that it's actually really the shape of the Hornet here, with the body, the haptack, and the tail with the sting here. And we can see it's almost sharp. There you go. There the side, but this part there you go, look. Cinematic effect, little flare. Wow, son. It's true that this front is much more aggressive than what we're used to. At Honda, what we're used to is a bit cooler. That's it, the nice air, a usual Honda. There, they said, come on, let's get a little upset. So I don't have a game. Mr. Flat like that, there you go. The cockpit looks like this, the tank. So we open with the key, something quite standard. We'll put 95 or 98, by the way. Don't hesitate to tell me. Do you put 95E, 10, or 98? Mirror with good visibility, quite simple mirror, by the way, small mirror to him, all that. It's true that it would look nice. What you're looking at, we have something very sleek, that tank, with that, for example. That's part of the pack that I have today with the handlebar support. Here at the end, I forgot what it's called, but cut out here, with the computer numerical control machine, with the little Hornet engraved by laser, that's pretty cool. It's one of the pluses of the forks with the settings. On this side, so we can see the preload here, and on this side we have rebound and compression, and then normally I believe that the rebound, it's adjusted at the bottom if I'm not mistaken. The turn signal on this side, we don't have a turn signal that turns off automatically, so but it's displayed on the screen there, up there, so on the sides, the neutral, which is displayed there, but also at that place there. While I'm thinking about it, the horn which honks, all cute on this side. The joystick, to be able to enter the menus, for example, times to access it there, the consumptions, the distances, the mode, with the driving aids that I have, for example, in the mode there. I am currently in sport mode, with which I mainly drove today. The modes, I can change them there thanks to the mode button right here. So a press will allow me to change mode and it will display it there at the top. So right now I'm in standard mode, then I have sport mode. What's good is that it then displays at the bottom. In addition, the rain mode, user 1 and user 2 that you can see, I have set up in two completely opposite configurations. So then the little joystick here, which allows me to enter menus in this way. When stopped, you can see shortcuts. Going down mutes, going up is my favorite button. If I go to the left, twice it's my button to connect the phone, and to the right it's to enter my menus. And to enter my menus, I can do it this way. The screen, so everything that is displayed, my speed in kilom, neutral hour, the quick shifter, which is activated up and down, my fuel gauge, my tachometer, the mode in which I am, the time here, the total mileage of this motorcycle. We can customize the menus. If I remember correctly, I keep pressing to the right. I think I can go into the menus. No, maybe it's there. No, it's lower settings. I go into the settings and there I have the motorcycle settings that I can configure. The functions, the riding modes, quick shifter, shift point, reset the trips, the Honda ignition security system. That's the security thing from Honda. displays. So here I can go to display type. I have circles like this, or like this, or like this, for example. There, hop. If I press OK, how does it go? There. I go back and what it did to me, so there, I switch to circle and it moves. If I want to go into the menus, the brightness, the background, the information I want, and the favorite mode for the shortcut. Then the general, the time, etc. Everything we usually know. So all of this I manage thanks to this little joystick here, which is really well placed. On the other side, I just have the start button and the warning right here. It's active there and nothing else. Handle here, it's right by wire. I don't know if you can hear it. In fact, it electronically manages the opening of the butterflies in the intake. So it's 100% electric at the braking system level. Here we have the lever with small adjustments, points over there at the clutch lever level, a clutch lever. The simplest option is to avoid making any adjustments to clearance or other factors. There you go. I think I've shown you everything. We started it, we heard it, all that. In short, we're going to play a round of golf or we're going to try it. No, I think the best thing is to go try this motorcycle. We're bringing back the magic of cinema this morning and we're going to go ride in that. The roads near Alicante are incredible and worth the detour, though I didn't capture everything on film. If vacationing here, bring your motorcycle. It's wild. Friends, let's go. Let's go on board this Hornet 1000. Friends, let's go. Look at this incredible scenery. We are here in Spain, not far from Alicante. Let's go for the gloves. I'm going to join all the colleagues who are down there. I put myself all the way at the back because here we have a band of motorcycle journalists, all more experienced than the others, who come to try this new Hornet. So, 1000 in Spain. So here, there are really all the big video media, and so we surrounded by Africa Twin, which guides us a little bit. So here, I'm doing my very first wheel turns on this Hornet or on this Hornet. So what I wanted to do is discover it with you directly with the handling in the city and then show you a little bit during the day. Because I would know it a little better, but as if I was discovering it with those who follow my channel. You know that I like 4 cylinders, and precisely I like it because at the bottom we can ride low in the revs. It's pleasant, it knocks, not the sound. I've always preferred it this way. The bike has a clutch for shifting gears, but no kickstand. Most importantly, they made it a very accessible bike. We have a large displacement, so 1,100 cubic centimeters. We have the SP version with shocks, a little more developed than on the standard version. I think it's pretty good. Who put that one there for us? Because clearly I advise you to buy that one. Because for just €1,000 more, you can easily treat yourself. Here we start off cool. I'm going to close the visor right away too, so you get the best sound. So, very pleasant motorcycle, already easy to handle. I'm 6 feet tall, I have a good position on it, I feel quite good. Right away the shifter in, quite smooth, the gearbox, the gears shift rather easily in. Right, it's pretty good. So here, we immediately get on the fast road in 6th gear, quite good. It's soft, it's gentle, it's rather pleasant. We have beautiful roads here. We will then be able to go on roads where it will be much more winding, where we will be able to make some videos. And I find it really quite nice, the shifter, so it's always a treat that I find it so good. The bike is easy to handle. What is it pleasant? We really have the right position. Street. So I think there in front of me there is an Hornet, but who does not have the SP version. On. We had an MT and a key with little time. We were the first in the world and also spaced. Me, I'm not in a hurry. As I tell you, I make the video for you. Really the way we could use it daily when I get to a turn to be graded. Or even if I stay in 6. What I like, sometimes just chill and stay in low gear. So here, for example, I'm in 6 at 50, I go back here. For instance, driving in the city at 31 miles H. Currently, I'm slightly above that level. In user mode, the engine brake is half balanced, so use the standard mode. And so it actually allows for a rather pleasant behavior without having too much deceleration. After that, it's the same. The advantage is that we can ride in the towers with this kind of engine and to restart in town. Even with a big climb, I'll put it in 6th gear. There, I start at 2000 tours. It's super pleasant. It doesn't knock and it goes well. We go back to going at 80 on these small roads. It's super pleasant in the sun. I think we can really enjoy it this way. The position is good. I stay upright on the bike. I have something to tighten the tank. If I get on tiptoe, I'm a little bit below. No, there's something to have a good position. It's rather pleasant. Is the box a little bit on the sporty side? So when I fall, the ratios, that's it, but a kind of little jolt that is still quite pleasant. Otherwise, for daily use. 4-cylinder 1000cc engine, very pleasant for daily driving. It's flexible, it's pleasant, and we'll see the power side right after, if we can enjoy ourselves or not. But you suspect that if it bears the name of Hornet, it's not for nothing. So now we've arrived on some nice little roads. Let's see what it gives when we indulge ourselves. In any case, the panorama is incredible. Driving on these mountain roads around Alicante, it's really cool. So, when we set a little bit of rhythm, it stays. A Honda is always easy to handle. The engine in standard mode is pleasant. You can feel the torque, you can feel the power. The bike is easy, really. I feel confident right away. There are some bikes where sometimes I get on them and I say, well, yeah, it's nice, it works, but it doesn't inspire confidence. Here, I have a good position. I feel like I'm on some kind of bike with a big engine between my legs. And above all, in this setting, it's really quite pleasant. So we're getting some wind. Yeah, because it's a roadster, that's exactly what's wanted when trying this kind of bike compared to others. It's a little bit chilly this morning, and there's the whole gang of motorcycles there.
It's pretty nice. So all the new Hornets, 1000, let's go, watch out, we're turning.
There are angry people in Spain, but the reason is unknown. So this morning, I was in standard mode. If I switch to the second mode, sport mode, no, I switched to rain mode because I wasn't fast enough. Several one user, 2 standard. Okay, it's not very responsive. So now I'm in normal or sport mode, I don't really know. Rain, okay, so it's moving over there. So for sport, I let go and you have to release the throttle to confirm that we are indeed in the mode. It's just because I had the GoPro covering it, but otherwise, I have the little logo, so now this time I've switched to sport mode, which normally gives me more responsiveness. A slightly different engine brake and a traction control that will be a little more permissive for. But on this kind of small road, isn't it beautiful? However, I don't see any colleagues anymore. The guys all left like bullets, so I do it more like a pleasure motorcycle use, not a circuit motorcycle. I'm a pilot, I have nothing to prove to anyone. Today, everyone we're with, they're all very experienced bikers. I no longer have the motorcycle. In terms of enjoyment, and frankly, as you can see, I'm still having fun. And if I want to put in big accelerations, okay, it pushes. The shifter is even more pleasant and useful in the high revs if we take it, okay? I also feel that it's much more responsive when picking up the gas. In fact, I feel like I'm really getting a kick in the ass every time I gas up when I'm in sport mode. So thankfully there's traction control if you gas up from 0. Okay, something is really happening. But as I say, the bike remains easy to handle. I press a little bit on the handlebar. The bike positions itself easily as I want it to. I admit, it's a delight nonetheless. Yeah, it's great. Honestly, the rear brake balances the front well. We have a good bite. The goal is not to make trapper-like brakes. I'm not on a circuit, but I know if I need to brake hard, the motorcycle will brake hard. For example, here, we put a good acceleration, and it pushes its monk and big. Braking, but in fact, I barely brake with one finger. I have both fingers placed, but I feel that there is only one finger braking, and it's super effective. In axle, you can feel that the sail unloads very easily if you are full throttle. And yet, I have the traction control with the anti-wheelie activated because for me, wheelies are really not at all my thing.
My thing promises that
Ease of this machine. To the right, we add a little bit of gas, and to the left, and in reality, it goes very easily and without me needing to necessarily want to lean it. I love this motorcycle. It's very, very nice. And especially for this price, I find that we have a well-balanced chassis, a homogeneous and pleasant motorcycle. So it's not the most radical of all. It's not the most sporty of all. But for more pleasure, a good everyday motorcycle. Find it really not bad. The sound is cool. You can feel the intake. There's a nice little sound. Look, listen, a little aura, a little purring, which is very, very cool to hear. And then I admit that the sport mode side does to the throttle response, and it's a blow, is still quite brutal. So actually, I'm going to almost prefer it by weight. Here, I'm trying the rain mode. Okay, the rain mode totally restrains this time and erases this jerk that we feel at the beginning. The rain mode is much softer on the gas pickup. It changes the mapping of the throttle handle and it makes a big difference on this bike, promise. These small roads are amazing. I think it must be insanely hot in the middle of the day. It must be crazy. So now I've done the rain mode and I'm going to put the standard mode back on. Hop, I release to confirm, and the standard mode. It reduces jerkiness further, making it more pleasant. So the standard mode will be cooler for daily use. The sport mode is excellent for riding at high revs and having fun. Otherwise, the standard mode performs very well. Here, I'm coming in a bit strong. The braking is really good. The rear balances well. I feel serene. And for example, the big front. Yeah, it really brakes well. The fork setting feels perfect. I'm 75 kg, so be cautious of small branches. And by the way, I didn't mention it, but the suspension filters super well. Look at the big braking again. It brakes really, really well. Here I am. The colleagues over here, it's really incredible. Like August, there was a little jump. So you can feel that the suspension is made for it to be a roadster that still wants to be at least a little sporty. There, the standard mode is already very, very good. Go, I switch to sport mode. Just because we release the handle to confirm and we feel that it's immediately a little bit more brutal. In terms of the throttle grip and the wing card, it changes quite quickly. What's quite funny is that there's a special resonance. But when we put a little bit of gas at the intake level, and it gives a little bit of a sporty side and the return to town, I can do a little bit of clutching if I wish. The clutch is pretty standard in the brake. Before, as I was saying, one finger is more than enough. We go through the machine, and the same even in sport mode. I can still ride quite low in the revs. Except that now, I even have a little more recovery than the mode earlier.
The amazing roads here make it clear why so many bikers are out on a beautiful day.
It's really a pleasure. The more we have beautiful tarmac, well read, very clean, it gives confidence. It's quite rigid, appearing both in braking and acceleration as well as in turns. I feel that the frame is solid, the fork as well, so we have a fork with an increased diameter at the level of the stanchions. And the wider it is, the stronger it is, and frankly, it feels pretty good. I'm starting over for the third time. With the GoPros that are glitching, I really need to change my camera because I can't stand GoPros anymore. I hope it's going to work this time. So we're off on a small winding road here.
Cameramen and photographers will be present to capture the beautiful pictures shown in the intro, including small shots and slow motion footage, just like they did for me last time.
If we are ready to go, let's get started. A little bit of two, and there is in...
The roads here are really beautiful. It allows me at the same time to talk to you again about this braking, which is really top. Its plans, finally, its plans.
I see the cameraman with his framing. This front brake is really top of the top. It allows me to brake just with the middle finger. The motorcycle is well balanced. It's easy. It changes angle rather easily, that cameraman there. Be cautious. It seems a photographer was lying on the road. The motorcycle takes the angle quite easily. My goal is not necessarily to go touch the knee or rub the foot pegs, but it's mostly to show you the ease with which it takes the angle. Little shift, pass a little bit, there, it goes well, and the pleasant sound doesn't need to have a crazy exhaust. We slow down, if there's a little stop, we stop, we're nice, and we're going to join all the colleagues. Today, as I said, I'm going last. We'll stop in the sun and enjoy it. This bike is pretty nice anyway. All right, let's go for a little climb on the small road. Videographer, photographer to make 2-3 little shots. Okay, let's go to do my helmet for the sound. It's good. There's no one. Go ahead. I'm listening. Motorcycle is really agile, easy to handle. It inspires confidence. We have an engine that is pleasant at low speeds, which is not too precisely agitated, and that allows you to enjoy yourself and ride a little bit on this torque. And that's what I like with these 4 cylinders, where it's not too low, precisely agitated, where it hits. In fact, it's quite enjoyable. Winding the courses like that, a little bit low, and then going up, and it's like all 4 cylinders. Something often happens very high in the towers, so you have to go far to find it.
But who has delighted? There at 4,000.
You can feel that something is starting to get ready and it's becoming more and more enjoyable.
However, above there, we will quickly be in almost illegality. We'll see later if we can find a little piece of highway to be able to push a little bit.
Seeing the recoveries of this engine at that moment, it will be a little bit different. But on small roads, we know that with miles, it's hard to exploit all the potential of this motorcycle, even if we can enjoy ourselves. I was exploiting it earlier on a few small straight lines. It works pretty well.
So, we're going to go do a little bit of highway to test this motorcycle.
Because you know that on the channel, I test the motorcycles in all conditions. I had a little guide behind me in case I get lost on the highway. Here, there is a beautiful sun, so small sun visor.
And we will go to the right. I don't know where it leads. Alicante over there.
So like this, it's a bit to give you all the regimes, depending on the speeds. So, for example, if I'm at 80 there, I'm going to try to slow down to 80. I'm at about 3,000 revolutions per minute in 6th gear.
There, it's very pleasant. Just look there. We have a magnificent sunset. We'll be able to fit in 90 like that. I really give you all the diet ranges at 90. You might be able to hear, we're starting to hear some noise.
We are at 3,500 revolutions per minute at 55.93 miles h.
In 6th, as my presentation said, we don't have a cruise control on this motorcycle, so it's something quite simple. They also wanted it to be simple to keep the price down. We're going to go up to 110 speed from our place, often on departmental roads, so there it starts to blow quite a bit at 110. We're at 4,500 revolutions per minute, almost exactly. I have very little vibration, even if I don't have the little rubber pieces at the footrest level.
Since here we are on the full metal versions in aluminum, which are very pretty.
The handlebar has negligible vibration, which is pleasant. However, there is some wind at the chest level, but it's okay at the head level.
Choose a rather aerodynamic helmet, which will also play quite a bit. I'm in 6th gear, in normal mode. I'm going to switch to sport mode.
So here, I just activated by releasing the handle, which allows me to have more torque and more power, also in terms of mapping.
So what I do, I accelerate a little bit and I'm going to go put it 2.
We're driving at 80.78 miles h towards the mountains. The scenery here is incredible.
There, I'm at a little over 5,000 revolutions per minute, about 5,250 I think. We are getting wind, but it's a roadster, and that's also what we're looking for when we have this kind of motorcycle. What I also wanted to explain to you is that I'm going to try to drop the gears.
That between 5,000, so there, we might not hear it, but between 5,000 and 6,000. There are the valves that open, and we feel that. Past 5,000, when it opens, the bike is a little more freed up. And if we want to have a little fun, I put myself back in 3,000, for example. There, I'm at 7,000 revolutions. At 7,000 revolutions, something happens. And at 8,000 there, it becomes complete nonsense. Clearly, don't move. I'm going to give myself a little boost of 2. 2 at 8,000, we have the pass power of thousands, in fact, 8,000, and oh la 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 la, like... I say, I'm not a pilot, I don't really like having the front wheel lifted. Here we have a nice little sound, I don't know if you hear, see. It's very, very cool. And here, on the other hand, the slightest solicitation of the throttle. In fact, the bike only has one desire, to unload the front wheel, however. I feel it directly, and yet I'm not even halfway there. On the other hand, I have the shifter. 3, 4, 5, 6, it's very pleasant. The same, if I need to downshift, I go for it. And then, in fact, this motorcycle, it really comes to life. Past 6,000, something really happens. 8 to the office automation, 12. It's really violent, and the motorcycle starts to get really angry on its reports. Much higher, however. That's when I want to go into cruise mode down below. It picks up without being violent. And it's quite accessible, and even at high speed, if I need it, the motorcycle, it remains quite easy to handle. And even on small roads, we can take speeds, for example, over 100 and some, in long curves and others. We will feel confident. There's a big curve here. My only desire is to take it at 200. Because I know that the motorcycle is healthy, stable, and it's a pleasure to ride. I will let people slow down. What I can also do for you is, for example, a 90, 130, so in 6, to show you a bit of the recovery. Look there, I'm at 90, go 6, 110, 120, 130. As you can see, even in 6, it picks up quite well. It's much faster than a car. And there, I was in 6th gear. So imagine if I do a 3 again, for example, 90, 100. 30, and there, I was mid-wrist. In fact, I can't go full throttle, because otherwise my lead is floating in the air like a little bird. Well, let's go back to the fold. I'll conclude with this beautiful little sunset. The Lones, are you ready? Oh, there. There. Oh, there. There, Mom, listen. Listen, of the great nonsense. Go on. Conclusion. Well then, this Hornet, 1700 CB, exactly 1,000 Hornet. What do we think about it?
Me? That's what I love as a personal motorcycle, because we can use this engine in different ways.
Low in the towers. It's very pleasant. It rolls. It's a 4-cylinder. It doesn't make noise. It's pleasant. It picks up correctly.
For a daily use, it's very pleasant.
What I like is the fact that it's a roadster that's not too protected. I also like it because, precisely, it allows you to get a bit of wind. When you drive too fast, you acknowledge it to yourself. It's not ideal for long highway trips. The bike is comfortable and well equipped, similar to an Africa Twin with a large windscreen and adjustable features.
But it's the pleasure motorcycle, really par excellence, with an engine that still wants to be sporty.
But to find this sporty character, you really have to go through. In fact, there is above 6,000. Something happens between 6 and 8, and above 8, something really happens, and above 8. If your wrist is a little too nervous there, you're not going to wear out your front tire. Clearly, it's quite amazing. Thank goodness for the anti-wheeling. Because me, I'm not very comfortable with the rear wheel, well, the front wheel in the air as much. I enjoy spending my life doing trials and other activities, but motorcycles aren't really my thing. I have nothing to prove. I simply like owning a motorcycle. For the pleasure side, the acceleration and this little bit of thrill that it brings. When it pulls, and to not hide anything from you, it does pull quite well on the arms. 156 horsepower suffices. Some motorcycles now have 210 horsepower for 200 kilos. It pulls on the arms, which is different, but it has character here. The lower part is really cool. Daily use, I go to work with a nice motorcycle pleasure, and when I need to accelerate. Well, something really happens up there. In the towers, we have two characters on a motorcycle. There are people who prefer when it's brutal, from all the way down. Me, precisely, I prefer this kind of behavior where I can walk around, ride on the torque, even chain of turns.
And then when I need to get angry, I drop 2-3 gears and we can go to jail already quite quickly by dropping gears.
But it's a really excellent motorcycle. What I like a lot is that they have still shortened it. 1, 2, 3, 4, which allows to play quite high in the rounds without going much too fast. On the other hand, starting from the bottom of 4th gear, the speeds increase rapidly through 5th and 6th gears. I rarely use those higher gears, even on the circuit. I once did a circuit on a motorcycle with an M1000RR. It was still quite incredible. But I think that must be nice, because we are going to play a little more with the gearbox.
And why not? If you want to try a little bit from time to time, enjoy the score. Do you enjoy yourself?
We only live once, as they say, so that it was rather not bad in terms of consumption.
I had 2 gallons, so I didn't reset at the start. Most of my colleagues also had between 7 and 2 gallons. We'll likely be around that estimate. Here we only worked on small roads, and it was purely for pleasure. We didn't conduct any consumption tests.
If you're interested, I'll take it back, because in truth, it's a good motorcycle.
She's going to take a little week for a little road trip or something. Why not? It's pleasant to use the look. I really like this front, which is more aggressive. The neo-retro side they had before. It was really stylish, but now we are more on more aggressive motorcycles.
In addition, with the name Hornet, the black color fits well. Yes, would I take the SP?
Yes, I think I wouldn't ask myself any questions. For a little more than 1,200, 1,300 euros, it's worth it. In my view, these versions would depreciate slightly less because they come with better equipment.
Oh, the front rear shock absorber, the brakes that work well.
In short, I would go for this one. So I like this kind of motorcycle. It's homogeneous. I believe that... I saw it in a coworker's video.
By the way, if you find this video, don't hesitate to tell me here that you've seen it. It will be quite funny.
Don't hesitate to share your favorite motorcycle type. Single, twin, 4 or 6 cylinder. 5-cylinder motorcycles don't exist, though it would be amusing if Audi, known for their 5-cylinder engines, ventured into the motorcycle market. For our next video, we'll start the motorcycle videos again on a beautiful day. Thanks to Honda for inviting me on the scent, and that there, for this.
Winter,
It's nice to soak up some sun in southern Spain and try out these new toys. Remember, we always aim to create textures like this. We are among the few French journalists who can try it, as only 10 in France came to test this toy. Thank you for this opportunity. Don't hesitate to subscribe to allow me to do even more tests and show you this kind of motorcycle. In a situation, a bit of real life and various conditions. See you soon for the next video. Ciao.